What is up, Catfish people? I hope everybody is having a good night tonight. Just checked everything out. It looks like the show is showing up, and looks like you can hear me. Hopefully, give me a thumbs up if you can. Got a few people showing up. Nebraska Wildcats, PD Fishing. Clarence is in the house. What's up, my toothless wonder? Chad, Lynn. Wow, there we go. Good little group. We'll give everybody a few minutes to get in here. Gonna do a little tackle talk tonight. I know that's Chris Souter's name for his show. I think he does a Tuesday tackle talk or something. But I'm going to do it tonight because I was headed to the river. I was actually going to bring you guys some live fishing tonight. Um, we got down to the boat ramp and looked at the radar. There's a little cell coming through with some rain. And we decided to wait it out, and we waited and we waited, and more rain expanded on the backside of it, and finally decided to pull the plug on it and come on back here. It looked like it was going to be about, I don't know, probably about an hour or so before it got to where we'd be able to fish. So I'm going to look at the radar. I just want to see if we made the smart move. Oh yeah, oh yeah, right there is where we would be fishing, right there at my finger. I'm way up here, which I'm just north of where this stuff is. It's not even raining here, but a few miles down the road, right there in the middle of all that, is where we would have been fishing. So there's lightning. You may hear a rumble of thunder. Most of it's rolling out of here and going on down the road. So yeah, it is what it is. I'm gonna try to get out there tomorrow. I think I have a video coming out tomorrow. Excuse me, not sure what's up tomorrow, but I was going to go over some tackle stuff tonight. I've been wanting to do this, and I've been wanting to take some questions, and that way if you guys have a chance to give me any feedback, questions on anything, that way we can just go over some stuff. It's hard to do this on the boat. I was going to try doing some live stuff tonight, and sometimes it can be hard out there, especially if you start catching fish and you get lost. Thanks for the super chat there, Brian. Much appreciated. Finally got the flathead. My brother also caught his biggest blue cat this week. That is awesome, dude. How big was the flathead? That's what I was out chasing last night, and didn't get one. Got a decent blue, but no flathead. That is awesome. Thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. And congratulations on two good fish. I hope they were monsters, but if they're not, it don't really matter. The fact that you're catching fish is all that matters. So, um, what I was going to talk about was this reel. I just did a video on it a week or so ago, and it says PC Fun reel. I'm going to pull it up here. It's on. I actually pulled this straight off the boat. It's on a B&M rod. It's a B&M Silver Cat Elite rod. 7'6". I'm going to try not to clank into the microphone as I steer stuff around in here. Handle's still wet on. Let me cut this apart. Like I said, this is tied up, ready to fish. It actually fished last night. Got my scissors over here. Tied up with a Carolina rig. I'll retie all this and show it to you. Not a Carolina rig, a Santee rig. Any of you guys that are new to fishing, you'll see me fish a lot with these. And I'm going to do a more detailed video on it, but I'll show you what it is. For some of y'all, you already know what the heck these things are. These are called Santee rigs. They're a drifting rig, but I use them anchored up. And I like them because they suspend bait. On one end, my line was tied on here a minute ago. I should have showed you before I cut it. The line's tied on there. There's a sinker. And I'll show you some more. We're going to go over some drift sinkers here in a few minutes. And that sinker, guess what the sinker does? If it's a good sinker and it's well made, a good sinker will sink. Yeah. If they don't sink, they're not well made. Take them back and get your money back. But it will sink to the bottom. It'll hit the bottom and it'll be real loud like that. What'll happen is you'll have some kind of float. In this case, I have a homemade demon dragon with some glitter that I stole out of my wife's crafting stuff. See there, a little glitter, glitter. Ooh, looks like a little shiny shad. You can also use a peg float. That's what these things started out with, using these. These are the 3-inch peg floats. 2.5's work. Any type of anything that floats. I have seen people tie balloons onto these things before. You can use bigger floats if you've got really, really big baits. But what happens is this floats up off the bottom. boing. And it'll get to a point where it'll be hanging there like that. Right behind that is your hook. Okay. Now on a peg float, your peg float just slides onto the line. You've got a peg, thus the name peg float. See, all this is starting to make sense, isn't it, people? The little peg goes in there, and that locks your cork wherever you want it. On here, people do these things a couple of ways. A lot of people, because all these are a Zara Spook blank. If you do any bass fishing, this is a topwater plug is what it is. See all those little loops on there? That's where treble hooks would go. Treble hooks would go here and here, and you would tie that onto your line. You would walk the dog across the top of the water. You'd catch bass, snook, whatever you're fishing for. And it rattles. Hear that rattling sound? That attracts fish, gets their attention. On these, what I do is I run it all the way through. That's one piece of leader material. It goes all the way through, and I use a piece of electrical tape to tie it in place to hold it there where I want it. A lot of people will run it to here, tie off here, and then tie off here. I'm not a big fan of having the extra knots, especially on something that short. When you get a piece that is tied onto there, there's virtually no stretch right there. And I'm just not a fan of it. So that's why I do these and rig them up the way I rig them up. Jason Ward, thank you for the super chat, buddy. Thank you, buddy. Love the content. I was hoping you had like a question or something you were throwing out there for the super chat. You come back with one and I'll do it. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. But that's how I rig these things up. Now, I'll show you a trick. I use a snap swivel, as you can see right there. The reason I do that is because I want this to stay in place. What I mean by that is you can also use like a sinker slide. This is an easy sinker slide from Rig Wrap. This one you can put onto the line without most sinker slides. I'll show you. Are like this, and you have to thread it onto the line. Okay, easy enough, not a big deal. Unless you've already got your rig tied up. So with these, what you can do is, if you already got your line tied up, see, no magic tricks here. This is no sleight of hand. There's something on both ends of this thing. Sorry about hitting the mic there. With this easy sinker slide, you can put that sucker on to the line without untying anything, which is nice. And see, it's onto the line. This is easier to do with two hands, but it's on the line. So I wouldn't put it on the leader. I would put it on the main line. The only problem with that is, and this will work in some situations, is that if you put this on while you're anchored, when you're drifting, it's not a big deal. It'll work fine. When you are anchored up, though, if you have one of these sinker slides on your line, this, if you get slack in your line, if you're not in current to where you can reel it tight against that slide, this thing will float, 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 way on up there. So that's where I don't like using them when I'm anchored up. I'd rather have the snap swivel on there. Some people get into the whole thing with resistance, a fish feeling it. I don't worry about it. I don't think catfish are that smart. So, so anyway, that's kind of the rig that I'm using. I'm also going to do a video on some Carolina rigs, which is really the basic fish catching rig at some point. But we'll get back to that on another day. I was just showing you what was on there. That's what I've been fishing with here lately. This is the reel that I did the video on. This is the PC Fun Solace X. Does that poke a hole in the ceiling? It's a big reel. It's a big reel. I don't know if you saw this, and this is one I've been demoing out. This is an Abu Garcia 5000 or 6500. I'm sorry. You can see the difference in the size of that reel, how big it is. I'm going to try to turn this over. Do some magic this way. You can see the difference in the diameter of it. If you didn't see the video, check it out. I go into a whole lot of depth on this thing. Somebody was asking about the drag. It's a big reel. It's got a lot of drag. It's got a lot of drag, like 25 pounds of drag on it. Let's see if I can do this without ripping my hand apart. We cinched it down on a tree the other day. You can hear it's got like a little ratchet sound to it. This is 30-pound line. It's not close to breaking. This is the first time I've really tightened this thing down. Yeah, it's pretty Pretty dang strong. It's more than you need for catfish. However, this sucker is going to get put to work. As you can hear, I'm going to see if you can hear this. It's got the little clicking mechanism on there. Hey, thanks for the super chat, Crystal. Much appreciated. Appreciate that there. It's got a little ratcheting, clicking thing on the drag. So it's got a lot of drag on it. It is a level one. The one thing about this reel is, and I didn't bring it up here, I've got an old Tidewater. The way these things work is, unlike the 6500, you push this button in and you cast it. So that's falling. When you knock it in gear, crank the handle, it knocks it in gear. This one doesn't. This thing does not go into gear until you flip this handle. The Tidewater does. Some reels do, some reels don't. Some people like it that way. I like it to go into gear just out of ease of operation and habit. This one doesn't. You have to actually flip it in gear to engage it. Another thing somebody was asking about, and I don't think I put it real good in the video, so I'm going to give you a comparison here, is how loud the clicker is on this thing. I actually put the clicker on last night for the fun of it. I had a fish get wrapped up in a tree. You'll get to see that on the video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this down. Try not to mess up my connection. I'm going to show you what it sounds like compared to a 6500. I'm going to do a side-by-side test. See, this would be hard to do on the boat because I'd lose a fish. Chip, thank you, buddy. Super Chip Bay says, James has two nice blues tonight. We like to pig ping after watching your videos. It's funny you mentioned that, Chip. Thank you again for that. About the pink. There's something with the pink. I'm actually getting ready to do a video. Don't tell me the clicker's broke on this one. It is broke. Dadgummit. I got a 7,000 of it. I got a pile of stuff here on my desk. There is something with pink, and I don't know if that's just our waterways or what. I don't think it's so much the color. I think it's the lack of color or the shade of gray that it goes to when it's in the water. There's if you watch my video on my personal best blue that I caught down on Santee a couple months ago, I was using one of those pink floats. Pink works really good for some reason. I bought pink originally probably 10 years ago on a whim because there was a big pack of peg floats for like $12 or something. It was for like 100 of them. Nobody would buy them. It was down at Santee because they were pink. I bought them and they've worked great ever since. Yeah, I think it's got something maybe to do with the color of it and the way it looks underwater when there's no light. I think it may get to a certain neutral gray or something. I don't know, but the pink reel really has nothing to do with it except that the pink reel catches fish. Here's this. All right, let's get back to the clicker test. 7,000. I'm going to put these at about the same distance so you can hear them. All right. Here's the PC Fun reel. 7,000. I think it's louder. I think it's louder. I'm trying to make sure this is fair. One's laying on the table. All right, let's do it this way. Let's put this one over here. All right, tell me which one this is. Which one do you think's louder? I'm not going to tell you which one it is. A, B. A, B. All right, I'm going to wait for the votes to come in here. One more time. A, which is louder? A or B? I'm going to take a vote. Let y'all decide which one is which. So, hey, what's up, Carl? Somebody saying hello. Chip is on Lake Marion, South Carolina. Oh, I'd love to be down there. I'd love to be down there. I assume you're putting it at a private boat ramp because I know the state closed off a bunch of stuff down there. So, Fishing with Billy is saying 7,000. A. That would be the 7,000. That is the louder one. I thought at first it may be because it was sitting on the table, but it does seem like it's louder. I guess it's the metal body. The PC Fun reel, hang on, I'm trying to get all this line back onto it. The PC Fun reel has that, it's like that, whatever that plastic composite body is to it. And it just doesn't seem as loud. So anyway, yeah, you're right. That one does, 7,000 does seem louder. I thought it was louder than a 6,500 though. Let me get that on there. That'll get you going, won't it? But anyway, that's the reel. It is big. Some of the cool things it does have, I forgot to mention in my video I did. You can actually put one of the locking bars that goes around the bottom of the rod and thread that on there. It's got room for that. And yeah, that's kind of it. So that's what's happening with that. It's big. To cast it for me, just because of the whole finesse of throwing a 6,500, 7,000 all the time. It takes a little more weight for me to get it to throw right. So that's kind of my take on it. I'm going to stick that bag over here into the corner and see what else we got going on. See if there's any questions. Thank you guys for the super chat that you put in there. Thanks, Ross, for picking C. Much appreciated. That would have been the 6,500 C3. So, yeah, you guys that threw in the super chat, much appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Show you what else I got here. Get that drift rig out of the way. Sipping my drink. Oh, the video I just put up. It went up yesterday. It's a personal best fish. Oh, there's one from Creole Catfishing. What's up, buddy? Thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. Love the content. Keep it coming. Hopefully you like these little nighttime deals. I poke myself in the eye with a piece of line. I'm trying to do some of these in between the edited videos that I've got up. So hopefully it'll be some good stuff for you. Where was I? Oh, the video I put up. Personal best fish on 6-pound line. You got to go watch it. I was crappie fishing. Long line trolling for crappie, whatever you want to call them. And I hooked into a catfish, a big one. I think it was 31 pounds is what it weighed, like 30 pounds, 12 ounces, something like that. And I had just put on some line from Slime Line. The guys at Catch the Fever. They make catfish line, obviously. I think that's what they started out making, but they have some, get it where you can see it. Turn there. Oh, there it is. It's a reflective black thing. But anyway, 6-pound slime line. And if you want to go check them out, this is where we get really cool. Go to the website, catchthefever.com. That's where they have their rods. Some of the rods that I've got back over here. I've used those before. You've seen them in a bunch of videos, and they also make slime line, fishing line. And they sent me some of this tryout. They sent 8-pound and 6-pound. And I was running the 6-pound because I really liked the lighter line. Well, I hooked into a big catfish. And so much for the theory of bigger bait, bigger fish, because this was a very big fish on a crappie jig, and that's all it was. It was a Carolina Hookers jig, local company that makes crappie jigs. I use their stuff, and it's a heck of a fight. Go watch the video. I actually let the entire fight run unedited for 2 reasons. One, I wanted you to see all of it, and 2, the video, something happened to the video on one of the second cameras. I only got 1 camera. Normally, you know, I have 2 or 3 cameras rolling, and yeah, so it kind of messed up. So but yeah, you get to see the entire video. I get this fish to the boat, and I have no leader on this thing. This isn't like somebody trying to set a line class record to where you'll have 4 or 6-pound line and then you have a heavy leader. I was tied straight onto the line. And any of y'all that have dealt with catching a big fish on light line, you'll know that you've really got one shot at it when he gets next to the boat with the net, because one good head shake, and I had the drag backed all the way off to a pound. I mean, once it got up to where I could see it, it made 2 or 3 dives. I backed the drag way off, and at that point, it was just taking one shot at it. Luckily, got it in the net, got it in the boat, and got some footage. So the one thing that I've always said about slime line, and by the way, let me say thank you to Mike Costello. Thank you for the super chat there, buddy. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for throwing that in there. Much appreciated. I've always said that slime line and all the tests I've done, I haven't tested it recently. I tested it when my channel first came out with some of their heavy line, and it had stretch to it. And I've always said with stretch, it's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword in that it's very forgiving. And in this case, it probably helped me some. That and a flexible light rod. But if you're going to have stretch, I believe you need to strip the line off. Like on that deal, I stripped that line off when I got done. I fished the rest of the day with it and pulled that line off and got rid of it, because when you load something that much on that big of a fish, and same thing with a catfish, even if you're catching them on 20 or 30 pound line, you really got the drag cranked down to, you know, 10 or 12 pounds and, you know, you're fighting a fish and you stretch and you got line stretch, swap the line out. So that's one of the things. But I haven't checked slime line. I don't know if they have the same. I need to reach out to those guys and find out. I don't know if they have the same formula they had when they started making line. But I'll say this about this line. I caught that's 8 pound. I caught a 31-pound fish on 6-pound line. So let's do the math. That's 5 times the weight of the line. So if you're running 30-pound line, you should feel good catching 150-pound fish. There you go. Matter of fact, the video that I did with Dale Lowe, who nearly broke the world record. I've got that video out. It's on my channel, and he was using a slime line, and he caught 143-pound fish. I don't remember how much his was. I think it was 50-pound line, if I'm not mistaken. So, anyway, that's my testimony for slime line and the super big whopper fish. You'll be happy if you use it. Now, sadly, everything else that I run is I run Andy line on because I've got a big spool of it, but I don't know after that, and I'll show you this too. A difference. Some people have asked about this visibility color between the two lines. That's kind of the difference in the coloration on them. I know these things show up really bright. Virtually the same stuff. So I went to this slime line for the crappie fishing because I'm doing what I call long line trolling, which is similar to trolling for catfish to where you have multiple lines out behind the boat. And I was running clear line, and I saw that the slime line was this, you know, high vis yellow, and been impressed. 31-pound fish, it'll bring crappie in the boat. So anyway, let's see where we're at here. Carolina Outdoors in the house. What is up, brother? Yes, that was a big fish. So who else we got in here? I got some more stuff from some people. You've seen these before. I'm going through all the stuff. I'm doing away with the mail call segment. I don't know how to describe it. It was too addy. I liked it, but I didn't like it. So anyway, I'm just going to talk about some of the stuff that I get people test out in here. Talk about it in some videos and demo it. One of them was this from Bonetown Catfishing. These were the drifting weights. We were talking earlier about the drifting sinkers. I gave them a hard time because all they had was Duke colors. Or it was half Carolina, it was half Duke. Okay? And that offended a lot of people, including my son, who is an Alabama fan. So, Bonetown Catfishing sent me some that were more of an Alabama color. So, I'm not kidding. So, Bonetown Catfishing, they're in South Carolina. I'll throw you up. I think they actually have a website, bonetowncatfishing.com. They got a bunch of different catfishing tackle. Their drifting sinkers work really good. They're kind of long, you know, they're kind of the long slinky weight. That runs in comparison to running one of these pencil weights. These are from Dale's Tackle. They made some of these for me. It's a pencil weight, as it's called. I use these anchored. I use them drifting. They'll work too. Difference is these here are very flexible. Same amount of weight, except these bend. And a lot of people believe, depending on where you're fishing, these things will bend and flow and go all over stuff. And you can beat your children with it. Let me hit myself in the head if I'm not careful. Need to quit that. So, but yeah, those are some cool sinkers that they sent me. The Alabama colors. So yeah, check those out. The sinkers, I tried a bunch of different ones. Drifting Sticks used to make some. They still do. I don't have any of their products anymore. And the Bloodline guys sent some that are some. There's a lot of different variations, and I think they'll all work. It's just a matter of how you fish, where you fish. Not everybody drifts and drags the way I drag, and depending on where you're at, what kind of bottoms you got on where you're fishing, I think some of the different ones may play better than others. Maybe the stiffer ones will play better when you've got, I don't know, maybe a rocky or something bottom or something. So just some, I always tell people with this stuff, all of it, as long as sink or sink, they're working. It's just a matter of finding out what works for your style of fishing. So sometimes there's no right or wrong. You need to play around with some of this different stuff and see what works best for you and the way you do stuff. You know, my lines drifted are way out behind the boat. And, you know, some people fish them very close to the boat. So there may be a difference there in what kind of sinkers are working. So another one from Stylus Sinker, similar but different. And I'll show you. This is from BCat Products. I'll show you their name. I think all of their stuff is on Facebook. You can check them out. But they sent me some that are a lot smaller and a little more, I guess the best way to describe it is compact. You know, you got the same amount of weight, but in a smaller piece. Some people like these. These would be almost similar to like a drifting, pencil weight. So, you know, they got a little flexibility to them. Got a little noise in them. So, you know, that's something you're not going to get with a pencil weight. So just some cool stuff that I am trying out and messing around with. And you'll see all of this stuff at some point in my videos. And you'll get to see how it works. My rule of thumb is if you only see something one time, generally it didn't work real good. So, but most stuff you never end up seeing if it's really, really, really bad. And I'll be honest with you, everybody that sends me stuff to try out, I'm always impressed with. It's always good stuff. They put a lot of time into it. Everything they do here with putting the shrink wrap and everything on these things is pretty dang cool. And the stuff seems to work pretty good. So let's see what we got here. See if there's any questions. You want to throw any questions up in here, feel free to. I kind of went through a bunch of my stuff over here. I'll see if there's any questions in here you want answered. Throw them up. Let's see what's in there. I see somebody talking about something being arrested. I don't know if that has to do with the coronavirus. I know some boat ramps are closed. South Carolina has closed all their public ramps right down the road from us. You can still get in on private ramps. You can still fish. They haven't stopped fishing. Fishing is still legal. You just have to be, you can't use a public ramp to put your boat in the water anymore. Somebody's asking what size I use. I assume you're talking about the sinkers. I like 2 ounces. 2 ounces seem to work good. I've done 1.5 ounces. I go bigger up to 3 ounces when I start getting into like 70, 80 feet of water. I like heavier weight then, but 2 ounces is what I go with. That's what you're asking about there. Christopher Lynch, what is your go-to hook? I've been using for a couple of years now since they sent them to me to try out was these Hooker's Terminal Tackle HTT circle hooks. They're very similar to a Gamakatsu style hook. Hooker's Terminal Tackle has a website you can order them. They got a couple different ones. I like the octopus style because of the way boy, that one there needs to be retied. That one's starting to get some fray on there. That shows you when you got a good leader. I like just the way I can snell that knot on there, and those are the ones I go to. I usually run 2 sizes, usually a 5/0 and an 8/0. I think that's a 5/0. That may be a 6/0, maybe a little bit bigger. But I kind of mix it up a little bit just depending on what bait I'm running and what bait I'm trying out. So Hagen Grubbs asked me a question. What is your go-to hook? I feel special. So y'all check out Hagen's channel, by the way. Yeah, I'm honored that he's in here now because once he's big time and famous, he won't even mess with me anymore. So got a good channel. Watch his stuff. I think you'll like it. Here on YouTube, good guy. We're going to fish together one day when the coronavirus stuff is over with. So we're going to make that happen. How heavy are those lead weights? 2 ounces. Pretty much everything I run is 2 ounces. I think somebody made something that were a little bit heavier. 2 ounces seems to work good for me. Carolina Hookers, or Carolina Hookers, that is Carolina Outdoors. Thank you. Black and chartreuse working great. White and chartreuse working great. And then the little speckled colored ones working great too here and there. So, I mean, when does white and chartreuse not work good? So there you go. What rigs do you like for flathead, hook size, float, or no float? I use these a lot. Here's what I do every year. This has happened every year for 7 or 8 years. And it happened again last night. I said I'm going to go out and I'll put some baits out underneath bobbers, underneath floats. Matter of fact, over there on my fishing table, I've got some lighted bobbers that have batteries in them. I had some big floated bobbers that somebody had sent me. And I go do it every year, and I end up despising it. Part of it is because they won't stay in place. When you're fishing on a lake and you put a live bait on there, the little suckers swim all over the place. There is a way to make a float rig that will suspend the bait up off the bottom with a sinker on the bottom and a float that floats up in the water column, pulls the line tight. It's a pain in the butt to build and a pain in the butt to do. So uh, most of the time I'm using the Carolina rig or the Santee rigs. I like the Santee rig. It's just if I'm using a live bait, I've got to go with a much bigger float to make that work. So what's up, Muddy River? Catfishing in the house. Muddy River, that's a good question. People ask that. I don't do it by temperature, to be perfectly honest. It depends on what I'm fishing. Like last night, I set up, now you'll find this interesting. I sat up on a riverbank, looked at the side scan, trees laid all in the water, just beautiful stuff. There's got to be flatheads there. Our water temperature was 68 last night, and you know that's into flathead season. I've already caught a few flatheads, so the flatheads are feeding, people are catching them. And I said, there's got to be some fish up there. There's got to be some crappie up there fishing. I'm anchored in about 24 feet of water. Channel ledge drops over to the right. Got to be fish up there. I put 6 rods down those trees, and I put 2 rods over to the side. Every fish I caught came out of the deep water. And I was catching crappie underneath the boat on minnows in 24 feet of water. There was no life whatsoever up on the trees when there should have been. My point is, my drifting, anchoring mentality is more what I'm fishing and what the fish are doing than what it is temperature-wise and where they're at. And what I mean by that is, like, if I'm trying to target those flatheads that are around tree structure, up feeding on crappie that are around brush pile, I'll anchor up and try to put baits on top of them. Typically what I try to do, especially if it's open water structure or something like that, I try to drop in a floating marker buoy. And I need to bring one of those on here in case y'all don't know what that is. Drop that marker buoy around whatever brush pile, tree, sunken boat, whatever. Try to anchor near it and put baits out around it. So that's when I'm anchoring. The drifting dragging is when I've got fish more open water, and say they're either widespread across flats, you know, channel ledges over a big area. That's when I'll do the dragging and pulling bait. So that's kind of my thing. Temperature, not so much. I'll drag for catfish in the wintertime in 43-degree water. I just slow it way the heck down. I'm doing about 0.2 miles an hour, 0.3 when it's that cold. So hopefully that makes sense. That's a good question for a lot of these people. I know you probably know the answer to that. You probably got your own way. But what's interesting when you fish out there in Muddy River catfishing, everybody knows who his channel is. But if you haven't, if you've been under a rock your entire life, go check it out. He fishes a totally different world from what most of us fish. And it's really interesting out there. I want to get out there. Ain't coming anytime soon, obviously. But, man, I could get a flight real cheap right now and probably be able to carry my fishing rods onto the plane with me because nobody else would be on it. But I'm not bringing you any coronavirus from the East Coast. So we'll try to make that happen when it's, I don't know, 135 degrees out there later this summer. So, is it true that catfish have soft lips when coming out of the winter, and do softer baits work better if this is true? I've never heard that. I don't know that they have. I've never heard that before. I do know this. A lot of times in the winter, they hit smaller baits. And I don't know if that's because of what they're feeding on or what. But a lot of times going into winter, it seems like big baits work really, really good. Getting to the dead of winter, it seems like little bitty baits work. And then coming out of winter right now, they should be hitting bigger baits. But for whatever reason, I've been catching a lot of good fish on smaller baits lately. So that's a whole nother video about the myth of big bait versus big fish. Rod preference cedar. Anyone that catches fish. I'm the only person at the Catfish Conference that made not even Muddy River Catfishing, who has his own line of fishing rods. I made promises about his rods that he was not willing to make. And that's that they'll all catch catfish. They all will catch catfish. If you look at the rods that Muddy River Catfishing has, they are good rods. They will catch fish. I meant to get 2 of them, the blue ones, so that I could have red, white, and blue rods to match my red, white, and blue monster rod holders. Missed opportunity, maybe next year. But a lot of it comes down to an emotional attachment. I'll be honest with you, all the big rods guys out there are making them. The one that Muddy River makes, that I think he's making 2 of them now. He may be on a 3rd. Who knows? He may be up to a 5th or 6th. These B&M rods, the big cat fever rods, they're all good rods. I've even got some of the slime cat rods that I've been trying out here. Those are the lime green ones. You'll see in some videos. All good rods. They're all going to catch fish. There's little things about the different ones that it's kind of like with some of the tackle. It's those little things that somebody may like. You know, you may like these white catch the fever rods if you're fishing at night a lot because of visibility. You may like these red ones, these B&M rods, because they're red and you've got a red bimini top and a red seat on your boat. And you've got a red 100-mile-an-hour Bass Pro Shop rain suit that I've got and some other stuff that's red. But that's just me. But, you know, they're all going to catch them. Look at what the little things are. There's, you know, like with these B&M rods, the handle's slightly longer. Some people like to tip more on these catch the fever rods. These Slime Cat rods got a little bit better action. They're all going to catch fish. A lot of it comes down to your style of fishing. I don't think you're going to go wrong. I get a lot of people asking me this question: should I buy this rod? You know, it's a lot of money to spend. I don't think you're going to go wrong. I don't think you're going to buy any of the popular rods, especially the ones that I use, and go, man, I don't like that rod. You're going to like it. You may buy another one and go, I like this better for this. They're all going to work very, very good for you. So I think you'll be happy with a lot of them. So good question though. Yeah, if somebody was asking about Muddy River rods, if he has them in stock, I assume he still has some in stock. Yeah, he ships them to you. So that's the only bad thing about a lot of these catfish rods, no matter whose they are. It's hard to find any of them in a store anywhere. Chris Flores will tell you that getting them out to, you know, distributors is tough. Getting them out to stores is tough. And, you know, a lot of them you got to get shipped to you. So you're better off really buying several of them. Just because the shipping usually on one of them is the same as it is on 4 or 5 of them. So one of the great things about the Catfish Conference. And oh, by the way, Catapalooza has been canceled for this year. Any of y'all that were, I think we talked about that, but any of y'all that were looking to attend the Catapalooza Catfish Trade Show in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, first week of June, they went ahead and canceled it. It's probably a good idea, just with everything going on, and who knows what's going to be going on at that point. So yeah, let's see what else we got in here. Just ordered my first Slime Cat rod to give it a shot. Catfish crappie. I think you're going to like it. I like mine. You'll note one thing I will say about them, the big difference in all of them, or in those, is I'll show you with these two. They need to send me a dummy rod just to put in here that I had back in the thing. I had one back here, but then I wanted to fish with it. If you'll look at these two, this is a Catch the Fever and B&M rod. I've got the end right here, even with my hand. If you look at where the reel seat is, the Catch the Fever rod is going to settle up somewhere back here. Okay. This one is going to settle up a little bit further. That Slime Cat rod settles up about up here. So one of the things I like about it was how far that reel seat is ahead. What plays for me in that is, I think when it comes to casting, this is hard to do in this little bitty space, is the leverage you get with grabbing that thing at the back and being able to chunk it. The other thing is fighting fish. I put them up underneath my arm. I like that. So that's kind of the two things. Like I said, a lot of these things are very, very similar in the way they're built and the way they're put together. And a lot of times it's an emotional attachment on what works and what works for you. Stick those back in there. Good questions, though. Let's see what else we got in here. Hagen Grubbs agreed with me. This is a special day. Y'all check out Hagen Grubbs Fishing here on YouTube. What day you got videos up, buddy? Do you put them up on a certain day? I've redone my schedule. My schedule is Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday is when I'm doing videos now. And then I try to do these live things in between. So Midway USA started selling catfish rods. They have free shipping on them. Hi, I'm Larry Potterfield. No, wait, I got to do it right. Hi, I'm Larry Potterfield from Midway USA. Thank you for your business. I know y'all have seen the Midway commercials, haven't you? So I hope Larry Potterfield is a nice man, because he looks like he's a nice man. If I ever meet Larry Potterfield and he is not nice, it will be heartbreaking. Have you ever had somebody like that you really just think's the greatest person on earth, and then you meet them and they're mean? I hope Larry Potterfield is nice. But I did say something about him doing, I seen a fishing commercial or something, so that's interesting you mentioned that. Hagen Grubbs Fishing, Tuesday at 4. Very cool. Let's see what we got here. Get in. Muddy River Catfishing. Have a good evening, buddy. Take care out there. Stay healthy, man. Stay healthy out there. Let's see what else we got here. Your favorite lake to look for big cats, not Wiley. Oh, favorite lake? I would say Kerr Lake. If I was going to go somewhere within driving distance for me, I would go to Kerr Lake, Bugs Island. I mean, the world record came from that lake. Another fish that was 2 pounds shy of the world record came from it. They catch 70, 80, 90 pound fish out of there. I've never caught a big fish out of it. Matter of fact, I've only fished it maybe 6 days in my entire life. But if I had to go somewhere, that's where I would be going lake wise to catch a big monster fish. I think right downstream from it, where Zach Royce fishes, Lake Gaston is another good lake that seems to house a lot of good fish. Now I do love Santee. I can't go wrong with Santee. I like the fishing lifestyle down there. I like the fact that they're the fish camps, as they're called, to where you've got lodging and boat ramps and restaurants and everything. It's almost like a southern Louisiana bayou kind of feel to it. Never been to Wheeler. I've never been out there. That's a place that's obviously got some big fish in it, but I've never really been there. A little bit of a drive, a little bit out of the driving distance. I want to go to something. And now I do like Eastern Tennessee. Not so much for like big fish. I mean, there's a lot of good fish in there, but I just like the variety of you can get over in that Lenoir City, west of Knoxville kind of area, and you can be at a lot of good lakes and a lot of good fish and a lot of diversity between the river sections and the lake. So that's that's kind of my money's worth on that one. Mr. Catfishing said he must have got to talk to Larry Potterfield. That's good. That's good. I'm glad he's a good guy. I'm just looking through here, seeing if there's any other questions. You nailed him too. There must be talking about Mr. Potterfield. He just seems like a good guy. Looking. Jason Ward says I have catfish rod tubes in my garage. I'm looking right up here. I filmed this out of my building, and I've got about 6 of them sitting up there too. I don't know what to do with them. I hate to throw them away. I've tried to give them back to people that sell rods, and they don't really want them because it's kind of a pain in the butt to carry them around and do anything. I don't know what they do with them. And that's another thing that's a pain in the butt on the cost of them is, you got to pay for those tubes. So, Brian Cochran coming off 16 days quarantine for coronavirus. Have 10 more days. Well, I don't know. Now you say quarantine. Do you mean quarantine as in you got it and were exposed to it and you're quarantined, or are you calling the stay-at-home order quarantine? Because, that's interesting if you actually got it. I only know we asked this question when all this started, and we've asked it every week since then. I finally knew somebody that is in my phone that got coronavirus. They're doing fine now. They took them off the respirator, and they're doing fine. So that's the good news there. But that's the only person I've known so far. I've had some of those know some people who know some people kind of things. And, we had one pass away here in Gaston County. Some of the people in here may know the guy from Freightliner that passed away from the coronavirus, but didn't know him personally. But yeah, it's hopefully you didn't have it. If you did have it, well, it's probably good that you had and you're over it, because odds are in your favor you won't be getting it again. So, ooh, Black Chrome 84, no power here, lots of storms. I was wondering if that was going to happen here with the when I came in, but everything stays south of us. So you got lucky there. No one can do bayou quite like us, though. Creole catfishing. Yeah, you're right about that. They are, it's a different lifestyle down there. It's a different lifestyle at Santee. It's a different lifestyle on James River. It's I think they're all cool. They all have their little cool things that we all love and that we all long for and that we all enjoy. Chad Field says the sirens are going off. Man, y'all must be getting hit with some bad stuff. I know there was, I was looking at the weather earlier today, and there was some line of something coming through. So, yeah, stay safe. Keep your head down. Country boys and catfish. What's the best tactic at Wateree? Dude, Wateree's like a lot of lakes. It varies depending on what's going on with the bait and where stuff's at. You can't beat, here's the thing on Wateree. And this is true on a lot of lakes that have hydroelectric releases above them, dams. The river fishing can be great. When the river fishing's on there and you time the water release right and they're fishing the river and they're spading the river, it's amazing. And then you go up there and they don't turn the water on, or there's nothing going on up there, and it's dead as a doornail. You wonder where all the fish go. It's hard to beat drifting and dragging on watery. I mean, it really is. But it's like any lake. It's going to vary. It's going to vary. Every tactic I use and do was developed for my style of fishing, either on watery or wily, and a lot of them translate pretty much anywhere outside of going to big rivers. Big river fishing is a different animal than like in Tennessee. Some of the river runs on those reservoirs are pretty long, and that's a little different tactic and style of fishing that I'm not necessarily the best at. But yeah, it's a different, a lot of good fish in watery. It gets fished hard. There's a lot of boat trade. You can't get a boat in right now because of the whole thing with the governor's order. But yeah, it's a good fishery, and you can catch them. It used to be, it was like the big fish were in the river. Now you can catch fish from dam to dam. My son's personal best came out of there. I think it was 60 or 61 pounds. It was down the middle of the lake. A bunch of the big fish that have been weighed in tournaments have come down from around Colonel Creek in that whole area. So there's big fish all over the place. Tommy says, I like the danger buoy in the background. It's funny, that buoy, I did not steal it. Unlike the picture right there that has to go back up, but I'm missing a nail. It was not stolen. That's another story I'll share on a different day. But the buoy, I actually found that thing years ago floating in the lake, and there's a number on it, a little sticker right there. And I called the Wildlife Commission and said, "Hey, I've got this buoy. Do you want to go?" She said, "Hold, please." Put me on hold. She goes, "Nope, you can throw it in a dumpster." She said, if it's broke loose and floating freely, she said they don't want it. So I guess the way the chain attaches to the bottom of it or something needs to be intact. So I brought it home with me, and now it's a prop here in the studio. So there you go. Texoma. Texoma is a place I want to get out to at some point. So many things I want to do. So many things that I want to do now that I can't go anywhere. It's amazing how much we miss some of that stuff. I will say this. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I think when it's all said and done and we get back to normal. Now, for me, I'm totally out of work. Not working at all. I know it's different for a lot of you guys. A lot of you guys probably working more now than ever. Chris Flores, Muddy River Catfish, and I think he's going. You guys that are paramedics, firefighters, you don't know anything's going on except for probably more, PPE awareness and, the you can't get your breakfast where you normally do, or that kind of stuff. You still working, life's still going on. For me, it's completely shut down. I mean, nothing going on. But it's also given me a lot of opportunity to focus on a bunch of stuff around here, getting some of this stuff done out here. My whole point is there's some of it I'm going to miss once we get back to normal, whatever that new normal is, because I've had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with the family. Spend a lot of time turkey hunting. My son's already tagged out in South Carolina. That's how much time we had and knew what was going on. I've already killed a bird. Get to go back this weekend. Some of that I'm going to miss. Now, the whole fact of not being prosperous and producing something is a pain in the butt. But yeah, there's going to be a little part of it I'm going to miss. Some of the togetherness and all that kind of stuff that we got. Sure, you can do that anytime without a court order, but there'll be something we'll kind of look back on some of us. Okay, you know what? That was kind of cool being stuck at home together. So, Paul Madicat said, we found a pay ramp. Shh, don't tell anybody where the pay ramp is. Because here's what's happening with the pay ramps, guys. On a lot of, like I said, the South Carolina lakes, public ramps are shut down. Any ones that are run by the utility companies, they're shut down. There's the private ramps. Well, the private ramps have become bombarded with boats. And a bunch of them have limited who they're letting put boats in now. So it's crazy. So you got to kind of know somebody that will still let you put in at a private ramp. So So yeah, it's a crazy time. Jimmy says, always wanted to fish Lake Lure as deep as it is. Was told there were some giant cats in there. Jimmy, I've heard that legend too. For any of y'all that don't know, Lake Lure is in the mountains of North Carolina. It's probably 90 minutes from where I'm at. Deep Lake. It's in this river gorge. It's beautiful. It's where Dirty Dancing, if you remember that movie, a big part of that was filmed on Lake Lure. And I've heard these rumors about catfish in there, and I know it's expensive, if I'm not mistaken, to put a boat there, because you have to get like a city permit that's like $50 a year or something. Or there's some weird thing with putting a boat in there. But I heard there were big catfish in there. So that's interesting you say that, but I can't ever get the truth on whether that's true or it's just one of those big legends. Uh, so yeah, kind of interesting. I'm a UAW member for FCA. We've been out almost a month already. Wow, that's Nitro Whiskers Catfishing. Talking about that, a month. That's where I'm at. Monday was the 1 month anniversary of not working for me. So that is the first time I have not worked in a month since I was like 14. I remember one time I was telling her, I said, that's the first time I haven't worked in a month since I went to basic training. And she said, you were getting paid then. I was going, oh yeah, I was getting paid then. Like $800 a month or whatever it was back then. But yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, it's a different time. We're going to make it through it. It's kind of a gear shift for a lot of America, but I see some light at the end of the tunnel, and I think there's going to be some light at the end of the tunnel, regardless. Because I think America's going to get tired of it in about another 2 or 3 weeks. I think something's going to have to shift or something's going to have to happen. So hopefully all of y'all stay safe and healthy during all this stuff. And I don't want to hear any horror stories from anybody out there. So Lake Lure, I wish I had known about cats in there. We vacationed there 3 years ago. I like that myself. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. And yeah, I might try to get out there and fish. I don't know what my plan is if they close. We still got a ramp open here. There's some ramps on Lake Norman that are open that are not state parks or not city parks. Anything that is part of Charlotte, Mecklenburg, Charlotte, North Carolina, that has a boat ramp attached to a city park, they close all those parks. So a bunch of that is closed on the east side. So I don't know. I've got a bunch of, the bottom line is I've got a bunch of videos anyway to do from here in the studio and everything else. So there'll still be content. There'll still be live stuff. I got a feeling, let's see, we're up to the 8th. I think within 3 weeks, most of this stuff's going to be winding down anyway. And some of these stay-at-home orders, I think they're going to have to do away with. So at least in our part of the country. Some of you guys in other parts of the country, it may just be getting bad right now. So anyway. What was that Gunner asking? Norman or Wally for trophy cats? Interesting question. Let me get a sip of my drink. Jacking my jaws too much. The previous North Carolina record blue catfish came from Lake Norman. 81 pounds, 82 pounds, whatever it was. And it was eclipsed by, who was it? Was it Eric Fincher's fish from Baden? That was like 87, 89. Then Zach Royce broke it twice consecutively out of Gaston, and then it was broke again by another young man down there on Lake Gaston. I think we're up to 117 pounds now. Which is better? Back to your original question. I think consistently catching good fish, Wiley. I think there are some big, and we've had this discussion with a bunch of us locally about Norman. I think Norman's a hard lake to fish. I don't think it gets targeted a lot for catfish. Because it's such a big, massive lake, and it's a deep lake. And there's a lot of us that think that a lot of those fish may be suspended in that lake in areas that people just aren't used to fishing and fishing those kind of tactics. So, had a buddy today, Peter Malik, who I don't think is in here, was striper fishing up there. Past couple of days, he's been pulling Alabama rigs for hybrids, and actually, he was not there. He was on a different lake today, but he's been on Norman, and has caught those fish suspended on his Alabama rig. So, I would stick with Wiley, but if you got to put it this way, I wouldn't drive past Norman to go to Wiley to go fishing. I think if you take the time to pick small areas on Norman and try to work them and target them, you can catch some good fish there, especially in the upper reaches. Another downside to Norman is that it's highly developed. Almost all of it has houses on it, and a lot of that translates into there's not any good shoreline with structure, timber, blow down trees, trees laying in the water, that kind of stuff. But there's 50 million boat docks around that place for crappie, spotted bass, largemouth hybrids, everything to hang around. And, those are places for flatheads to live and for blues. So it's a weird lake. It's a relatively new lake in the whole scheme of things. It's only 50 some years old. So in the whole scheme of our lakes around here, it's only half as old as most of them. So that has some stuff to do with the bottom and everything else. So, and it's also a stagnant lake. So I don't know. If I was a little bit closer, I'd love to spend the time working it to see if I could develop something on there that was consistent. Mac Byram, check out his channel here on YouTube. I've done some videos on him. Mac's the guy that was in the video that I just did. Can a catfish kill you? You got to go watch that. And yeah, he fishes up there and catches fish. He's fished it his whole life and is all the time plucking fish out of that lake. So yeah, they're in there. Which one's easier to target big fish on? Wiley's smaller. If you got all things being equal, you got the same size fish, they're going to be easier to catch in a smaller lake because you got less water to work. Especially things start pinching down. So that's at least my argument. So. Hey, brother, old Catfish Dave is going to give you a run for your money now. He's got a boat. Well, yeah, I know he's got a boat, and that'll be good. That'll be good for him. Listen, if I had comments on my channel, I'd be way past Catfish Dave as far as subscribers. I think if I had those comments on there, as much as I like talking and interacting with people, Catfish Dave would be chasing me. So, but no, he's going to have fun in his boat. I would have got a bigger boat if I was him. That's just that's a good boat, but he's going to want a bigger boat. He's going to have a bigger boat in no time. I know he'll say that you don't need a bigger boat and all that, but he's going to want room to spread out and kick back. And after being on the riverbank and having hundreds of yards all to yourself and a big truck and room to walk around, you get combined into a little boat. It's going to be tough, but I'm glad he's on the water fishing. There's, that's some of the best bank fishing in the country is on the Tennessee River, but it's also a lot of water out there and a lot of stuff to cover. And life's easier in a boat. That's why I give all you guys that are bank fishermen a lot of credit. It's tough, and when you're looking at nothing left to do but bank fish, bank access is tough, especially here where we're at around a metropolitan area, around Charlotte. So out there in Tennessee, not quite as bad, but still, you're limited. You may get right to almost where you need to be, and around that bend's a whole bunch of houses or business, and you can't get to it. So he'll be glad he's got a boat. He'll have fun with that, and it will open up a lot of opportunities for him. Hopefully that thing's got some flotation in the bottom of it, though. I hope it's got flotation in the floor. So what's up, Patriot Catfishers of America? I think, were you on earlier? I was going to try catching to see, yeah, your day is today. We were sitting at the boat ramp at South Point watching the storm roll through, and then decided to come on home and jump on here and do this. So I got to miss that. I haven't got to watch any good catfishing stuff online this week. I need to sit down. I've kind of been cranking out a bunch of these videos, working on a bunch of stuff, and I hadn't had a chance to do it. I was wanting to go live tonight fishing. We may do it maybe day after tomorrow. I try to do them in the evening just because there's a lot more you guys able to watch than doing them in the middle of the day. Of course, if you're like me and you don't have a job anymore, you can probably sit around and watch them at any time of the day when they come on. So, but it just seems to be better in the evening. Time and effort catfishing, like to pull a record out of Baden, but probably not going to happen. Baden had the state record for years down there with that fish that Eric caught striper fishing, and there's still big fish in there. There's 80, 90 pound fish in Baden. Baden's a weird lake, tough lake, as you know, if you fish it, because it can be, it seems like it's a hit or miss lake. Sometimes it can be on, you catch them like crazy, and then next time you go, don't know what's going on. So, Patriot says he had a short show. Sorry, guys, bad headache. Usually people say bad headache when I'm around, but that's something different. So, Let's see what else is in here. Well, listen, that's about it. I've been on for an hour. Been trying to do these things, keep them to an hour. Don't want to keep you guys all night. I know you got other stuff to do, other people's videos to watch out there. A bunch of people here in the chat have channels. Check them out. A lot of good catfishing content out there. I usually binge watch. Usually I do my watching. I'll pick a night and I will sit down and just watch video after video after video. So maybe what I do when I get in here tonight. So listen, I appreciate y'all dropping by. Anybody who contributed some money in the super chat, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Money goes to good use, keeps channel in the air, and pays for bandwidth and all that kind of stuff. And new video up tomorrow. Let me see if I can give you a little tease. What's going on tomorrow? Wait, I don't have one up for tomorrow. Okay, I need to put one up. I need to do that as soon as I get off here. I'll have a video up tomorrow. So there'll be something, and there'll be one again on Thursday. Go back to Sunday. Try to do maybe something on Friday, a little fishing deal. We'll see. We'll see what's going on. So I appreciate it. God bless all you guys. Love you. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in a couple days.